Hello, and welcome to Crossplay's Top 10 Video Game Villains of All Time. Today we're breaking down our favorite bad guys and bringing them to you in a short list. The only rule is that the villain must have originated in a video game. So sorry, Darth Vader and Joker, you're awesome, but we'll get to you another day. Let's get started.
It's your old friend, deadly neurotoxin. If I were you, I'd take a deep breath and hold it.
GLaDOS, or Genetic Lifeform and Disk Operating System, is responsible for testing and maintenance in the Aperture Science Research Facility. She begins the game as a gentle-voiced guide of sorts, with her tone becoming more and more menacing as the story unfolds. Nobody on this list puts out as much comedy as GLaDOS either. Your feud ends in Portal 2 with a stunning battle that is not bare of comedy and action. GLaDOS is a classic villain, and I certainly hope we have not seen the last of her. Darth Malak is the old Sith apprentice of Revan, and is the main antagonist for the first Knights of the Old Republic game. One of the most visually memorable characters in the Star Wars universe, he fell to the dark side while on the hunt for the Mandalorians and developed a mean lust for power. After being defeated by Revan in the final battle, he laments what may have happened if he did not go down this dark path. He begins showing remorse, saying, "In the end, I am nothing." He then reminds you that it is you, Revan, that led him down this dark path to begin with. You can't help but feel bad and sympathize. But Revan quickly makes us feel better by saying, "I'm sorry that I started you down this path, but it is you who chose to continue it."
I am nothing.
What the definition of insanity is. Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
That quote from Voss Montenegro in Far Cry 3 is one of the most well-written monologues in video gaming history. He didn't get the send-off he deserved, and he was unceremoniously killed off in the second act and traded for a much less interesting antagonist. The Far Cry series is yet to reach that level of supervillain again. While Pagan Min of Far Cry 4 had a flair to him, no one could match the Heath Ledger Joker style of insanity that we saw from Voss.
The thing is, I killed you once already, and it's not like I am fucking crazy. It's okay. It's like water under the bridge. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
In the late 90s, a kid who lived down the block from me had this new fighting game to show me. The game was Super Smash Bros., and it started yet another lifelong love of yet another Nintendo franchise. Master Hand, who was created by the legendary Masahiro Sakurai, fits the classic Nintendo villain style, bright in color, and almost Disney-like in appearance, yet he retains an intimidation factor fitting of a game's final boss. Nintendo has gotten a lot of mileage out of such a simple character. Master Hand stays in its rightful place of being one of the best video game villains of all time. Bill Williamson is a ruthless and ambitious man, power-hungry, self-serving, and greedy by nature, as well as lacking any morals or conscience. His ruthlessness and immorality were shown through countless acts of crime and intimidation, including arson, kidnapping, murder, and likely rape. He was partners with John Marston, the lead character, and now that Marston is living the quiet life with his family, the FBI has come to his home and is now extorting him. They tell him if he doesn't capture or kill Bill Williamson, then he will hang for his crimes. So in order to protect his wife and son, John must set out once more and capture his former partner. Bill successfully eludes John Marston throughout the first 2/3 of the game and is chased from New Austin down into Mexico before finally being gunned down. He is the quintessential modern-day Old West villain, and because of how Rockstar expertly crafted his persona and dialogue, he is our 6th greatest video game villain of all time. M. Bison is a villain motivated by his own self-seeking interests and lust for absolute power through world domination. He is a diabolical, ruthless, contentious, argumentative, foul-tempered, egocentric, arrogant, traitorous, manipulative, and unforgiving dictator who seeks to rule the world with an iron fist whilst also being universally regarded as the greatest and most powerful martial artist of all time. A video game boss should make you feel a bit of fear and provide you with that pit in your stomach and a holy crap feeling. And M. Bison did just that. I used to play Street Fighter in a laundromat on a poor side of town when I was a kid. I eventually got good enough to reach Bison on 1/4, and very few bosses or games since then have given me that heart-racing and hand-quivering feeling of facing M. Bison on my one and only quarter. For that reason, M. Bison takes number 5 on our list. The only corporation on our list, the all-seeing Umbrella Corporation, made its first appearance in Resident Evil in 1996. It was my first exposure to a villain that wasn't human. It was something bigger, and therefore seemingly undefeatable. Infiltrating almost every market from pharmaceuticals and genetic engineering to consumer-grade foods and products. It really gives you the idea that your enemy is all-powerful. One of the most time-tested enemies in gaming, the Umbrella Corporation, secures number 4 on our list. The one-winged angel, Sephiroth, was once a first-class soldier from Shinra Electric Power Company that was idolized by many in terms of his swordsmanship skill, intellectual actions, and discipline. He ventured into the Mako reactor in Nibelheim to learn the truth about his origins. However, after finding what he was looking for, he went crazy. He burned down Nibelheim and began chasing his aspirations of becoming a god and ruling the entire planet. In this list, we really put a lot of emphasis on how long these antagonists have been around. And Sephiroth is synonymous with the word villain, only to be trumped by 2 legends. Let's find out who they are. In my mind, Bowser is the original video game villain. Sure, he's not the first in video game history, but to me he is my very first that I ever faced, and just about the very best video game villain around. The epitome of the Nintendo villain, his bright colors and intimidating demeanor were enough to put the fear in me as I played Super Mario 64 as a 10-year-old. When I would play Little League, my parents would tell me to pretend that Bowser was chasing me as I'd run the bases in an attempt to get me to run faster. I hold Bowser near and dear to my heart. He's a piece of my childhood that I will never forget and will probably be a piece of my life forever. He's appeared in over 25 games and lasted nearly 40 years. He is the penultimate video game villain. Before we get to the absolute greatest video game villain of all time, let's do some honorable mentions.
Every man has his weakness.
Vladimir Makarov, Call of Duty Modern Warfare series. Goro, Mortal Kombat series.
Eat it. It's good.
The Baker Family, Resident Evil 7.
Yes.
And now, here is Crossplay's greatest video game villain of all time. Ganon, the Prince of Darkness, made his debut in The Legend of Zelda in 1986. While I played the first two Zelda games a bit as a young child, my first full Zelda playthrough was with The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And while the Ganon portrayed in that game isn't the Ganon we know today, it gave me my first taste of what would become the greatest video game villain of all time. And he's scary looking for a Nintendo villain. With his dark colors and his menacing face, his portrayal in the Nintendo 64's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was made even scarier by the poor graphical quality of the Nintendo 64. His pointed nose and all the sharp edges on him, on his face and on his armor, gave him a serious look that my 12-year-old brain was not ready for. I truly feared Ocarina of Time's Ganon, and I'll never forget my first time being so into a game that my hands were shaking as I faced him for the very first time in a final battle of the game. I'll never forget the way Ganon made me feel. He has withstood the test of time and is still as relevant as ever today. For these reasons, we give Ganondorf, the Prince of Darkness, the honor of being Crossplay's greatest video game villain of all time. So what'd you think of our list? Did we leave anyone out? Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. You can talk to us on Twitter at CrossPlayPod. If you like what you're hearing, you can support us over on Patreon at the $1 level at patreon.com/crossplayentertainment. And don't forget to read the blog at nickijamesstudios.wordpress.com. We'll see you next time on a Crossplay Top 10.